Hello, my name is Paul and today we're going to be talking about climate change and how it affects the world today. There's a lot of theories out there about the climate emissions and Paris deals, and I want to show you what is actually going on from a biblical point of view. In the beginning, there was no carbon emissions or chemicals on our food. Everything was perfect and the Most High said it was very good. So what we're doing today is a counterfeit of creation. There was no carbon emissions in creation, and that is correct. But I want to go into focus on what carbon emissions are and how we are to fix them. Because today the world's busy focusing on carbon emissions, but they're not doing it the right way. They're too busy trying to control people and not trying to take the carbon out of the air. And I'll show you exactly what scientists say the best way to take carbon out of the air is. And you'll find it's going back to creation, the creation story. The Spirit of Prophecy, Ellen G. White, talks about how the Vatican will use climate change to push the Sunday laws. They're not interested in taking carbon out of the air or helping to heal the earth. They're more interested in controlling people according to the Spirit of Prophecy. And again, pause this video, have a read of what she says. I've got all the references right there in front of you. And here she says here that it's about violating Sunday, but yet the Most High said keep the seventh day holy, which is Saturday, not Sunday. So again, they're abusing climate change to try to manipulate us to doing what they want and not what the Most High wants. Most High had a way in creation that made us all healthy and happy, but yet today we're going against the Most High's creation. So what the Vatican's trying to do is use climate change and world disasters to control you, to scare you into doing what the Vatican wants. We've got to pull out of the Paris climate agenda and the UN. They're not our friends. I'll show you, if you want carbon out of the air, I'm going to show you right now the best scientific way to pull carbon out of the air. You're going to remember these teachings from school. You'll know what I'm talking about. This is the best way. They won't do it my way. They'll do it their way. They want to control, put taxes so then they get money off you, and then they want to push in Sunday laws to the rest of the land. That's all garbage. This is what the best way to take carbon out is what we go back to the original teachings that we learned in primary school or as young kids and young children. Steel is 2% carbon and 98% iron. Making steel is taking carbon and putting it into iron. Very simple, old-fashioned teachings. Here is the old-fashioned way of making steel. They used to make a forge like this and fill the forge up with wood and burn the wood, and that will release carbon emissions. And then you put iron on top, and as the iron melted its way through the wood, it will mix with the carbon emissions to make steel, to get the 98% iron and 2% steel. This is the old-fashioned way of making steel in the olden days before we had modern techniques today. I've got a video I'm going to put on it now. It shows you the best way of taking carbon out of the air. It's not by paying extra taxes or doing this or doing that. It's just planting trees. Because it just showed you that the old-fashioned way of making steel out of iron and carbon is burning wood. Wood is full of carbon, and when you burn wood, you release the carbon back into the air. But the best way to take carbon out of the air is planting more trees. And the old-fashioned way, the old-fashioned photosynthesis. And this is the best way of getting carbon out of the air is to plant more trees and have trees everywhere, like it was in creation. I'll show you this video right now, and this should explain it better than I can explain it.
Nature's balance, oxygen. All living creatures breathe in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide in order to live. Plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Animals take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Plants make their own food. They absorb carbon dioxide in the air and water from the soil. Leaves contain chlorophyll, which uses sunlight as a source of energy to break down carbon dioxide and water into food. Oxygen is released during this breakdown. This process is known as photosynthesis. Will we ever run short of oxygen? If deforestation continues at a rapid rate and no more new trees are planted, it could lower the supply of oxygen. Leave a leaf sample in a bowl bowl of water under the sun. Leave it undisturbed for an hour or two and come back and check. What do you see on the leaves?
It is interesting that the Holy Scriptures also teach that trees need water. It talks about the tree planted by the waters. So the Holy Scriptures knew that trees need a lot of water too. Here in this picture, it shows you that the Bible says every 7th year you must rest your land. Because every time you grow tomatoes or fruit or vegetables, you take the minerals out of the soil. Every 7th year you have to rest your land so the minerals could be put back into the soil. And Yahashua also talks about the seed that found the good soil. Yahashua knew that you need to have good soil to have good fruit and vegetables. In the beginning, there was fruit trees everywhere. This is the original creation. That's what the original creation was. To make up a fruit tree, you need lots of carbon to make up a fruit tree. This is the best way of taking carbon out of the air, is to have fruit trees. And obviously, you have more fruit trees and nobody goes hungry. Adam was told he could eat from any tree except for one, because Satan was under Satan's naughty corner. But every other fruit tree Adam could eat from. It was never the Most High's intention that anybody goes hungry. In creation, there was trees everywhere. That's where the carbon was. The carbon was in the trees. It wasn't in the actual air. And here is the law. When you have a field of plantation of fruit or vegetables, leave the corners for the poor people. Where the blue crosses are, you're not to touch. You see, I'm in the picture, but it says, don't pick the corners of the field. Even the Most High always had a plan that nobody was to go hungry. Everybody was to eat a good quality food. So I've shown you the Most High's original design was actually to have fruit trees everywhere. No one was meant to go hungry. And today they've got all these new ideas about resting factories here and paying taxes there. Get out of it. The Paris Climate Agenda is not your friend. Neither is the UN. They come up with all these stupid ideas. But what they should be doing is going to the Holy Scriptures and keeping the commandments of the Most High, including the 7th day Sabbath, which is Saturday. They should be keeping Saturday as the worship day, as in Leviticus 23. And also, if you want to take carbon out of the air, just plant more trees. Very simple, and make it fruit trees to feed the poor at the same time. But when you see the carbon emissions ideas today, not one is going around saying we need more fruit trees or even planting fruit trees to help the poor. They want to control you. The Most High's way: plant fruit trees, it will feed the poor, and second of all, it will take carbon out of the air. That is the best way of tackling this problem. Everything else is a waste of time and money. This is why I'm against what the globalists are doing. I'd much rather do what the Bible says. And again, if everybody has fruit trees everywhere, and you take carbon, and a fruit tree will take carbon out of the air to grow, then if you have fruit trees everywhere, no one has to go hungry. You don't have to worry about charities feeding the poor people, because they will have enough food and vegetables. They'll be able to make their own food off their own land. See, we've got to help people. It's better to give a person a fishing rod than a fish. A fish will only last them one meal. A fishing rod will last them a lifetime, a good quality one. And I'm not saying we should eat meat. I'm not saying we should eat meat. I don't eat meat. But what I am saying is we should use the land to grow our own fruit and vegetables, and that would actually obviously feed all the poor people so they don't need help, and also will take the carbon out of the air. This is the best way of tackling this climate change agenda. There's always other ideas about taxes and doing this and doing that. It's not biblical. You see, these globalists are not reading the Bible, and that's the problem. They come up with their own ideas and own philosophies. In vain do they worship God, teaching the doctrines of the commandments of man and not the Holy Scriptures. I hope I made it clear to you today. I hope I made it clear unto you today. If you want to take carbon out of the air, plant lots of fruit, lots of trees, and if you want to feed the poor, make sure they're fruit trees as well, and then it's going to take carbon out of the air, and it'll feed all the poor people at the same time. Here is some poor person in Africa carrying water. My opinion is we should teach the poor people in Africa to look for water and dig their own wells. Remember, Yahashua talked to the woman at the well. And if you're near the sea coast, how to purify water. Take the water out of the seawater, because seawater is full of salt. These are the things we need to teach people in Africa. And by the way, how come that poor little child isn't walking on tomatoes and cucumbers? That little girl there shouldn't be able to walk without standing on cucumbers or tomatoes or some sort of edible food. Here is the old-fashioned way of evaporation. We all know this technique. This is the type of information people in Africa and third world nations need. Here's a more modern-day one. We can use metal, obviously, or plastic. We can even make a kettle out of clay and a pot out of clay. It doesn't have to be plastic and metal. It can be clay pots. But here's another evaporation way to evaporate water from seawater into purified drinking water, or any water that matter, by just using evaporation techniques. And again, you can make that kettle out of clay, and you can make that bottle out of clay as well. Poor people need to know how to find water the old-fashioned way and dig their own wells so that they can actually have water. And again, if the water is not purified, then they should be able to learn how to purify the water in the way I showed you before.
Alright, so if you buried a water line in your yard like I did, but you can't remember exactly where it is, the easiest way to find it is to get yourself a coat hanger, especially one of these little metal ones, and you want to cut it and then bend a right angle so you have two of them. And basically what you want to do is you want to hold two of them out kind of loose in your hand like this, and then what will happen, I'll show you, is when you get close to the water line, as long as you hold it really loose, then what will happen is it will turn, and then it'll be, there you go, there's where my water line is. I'll show you with two of them it's a whole lot easier, so let me show you that real quick. Alright, you want to film this? Me, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to find the water, so we got them out, right?
Got them out.
Okay, now what we're going to do is step forward. One, two. Alright, keep watching them. Keep watching them. They're going to turn. They're going to start to turn.
They're not spinning.
There they go.
Yes, they are. They're turning.
That means what is this? The water line is right here under the X. That means right here.
They put an X.
Right here is the water line. So we don't want to dig here because this is where the water line runs. And you can tell because if you look over here where the water line is, it runs right back up to that spigot right there, which runs back down this way, but it actually turns a little bit because it turns because it goes right over here. So that's exactly where the line is. So that's how you can figure it out. But that's how it works. Alright, hope this helps you guys. Take it easy. My dad taught me that trick. He's an engineer.
In that video there, it shows you how to find underground water pipes. But finding a well or a water source underground is the same. It's principle. Use a coat hangers to find an underground water source. A shallow well, if you call it. Not a borehole. You can always dig deep down, but the shallow water is easy to find using that technique. Again, if you wish to find water, always at the bottom of a mountain, never at the top, obviously, because the bottom of a well, the bottom of a mountain is a lot closer to the center of the earth, obviously. And obviously, old rivers or dried up rivers generally always have water down below them as well somewhere. So we've got to teach people how to find their own water and grow their own plants. That's the best way of helping out the poor and taking carbon out of the air at the same time. You see, the people today are trying to find all these new techniques to control you, using climate change and carbon in the air as a means to manipulate you to do what they want. Whereas I teach you how to take carbon out of the air the biblical way, so that God tells you that you can do what the Most High wants you to do. And that means worship on Sabbath. It means keep His Passover, His Day of Atonement, eat His fruit and vegetables, the way He ordained it in creation. In creation, Adam was told he could eat from any fruit tree. The original diet in creation was fruit. But after sin, the Most High said we could eat vegetables as well, like carrots and tomatoes and potatoes. We can eat carrots and potatoes today as well. The Most High said we can. So you can eat. What I'm saying is the best way of taking carbon out of the air is the same way as feeding the poor. We've got to teach people how to take care of themselves. May God be with you. May God bless you. And please share these videos. Download these videos today while you still can. We won't always have the internet forever.